Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Ray Bacon joins us. He's the Executive Director of the Nevada Manufacturers Association, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are always pleased to welcome back to the program Ray Bacon. He is Executive Director of the Nevada Manufacturers Association. Pleasure to have you back on the program, even if I can't talk.
Okay.
So you've got a connection between Nevada and the Olympics. Let's start out there.
Well, there's one thing that most people in Nevada should know, and very, very few people do. Probably in many respects the Nevada star for the Olympics, Krista Palmer, does a wonderful job, but she's jumping onto a Duraflex International Diving Board, as is everybody in international diving competition for about the last 60 years and things like that. And they're made out at what is now Trick, but the company's been there long enough it goes back before Trick. But you see the flex in those diving boards and things like that, that all comes from Nevada.
Well, we are all very proud of our Olympians and of the fact that Duraflex is well represented there. So thank you for sharing that, because I don't think any of the news media has picked up on
Well,
that.
Ed Pierce does every time, but Ed's kind of semi-retired, and so consequently he doesn't do his special clip on Duraflex like he has for most of the Olympics over the years.
All right, fair enough. So let's talk about $6.7 billion that is coming to Nevada, that pretty much all of our state leaders, both on the congressional level and on the state level, are saying, we're going on a listening tour to hear what Nevadans want to do with this money. And my first question to you is based on a conversation I had years ago, right before the Gibbons administration came in. And at the time, NDOT was short about $6 billion worth of road projects. And I said to one of the campaign advisors, you know, what would happen if NDOT got $6 million? He said, we couldn't spend it. First of all, there aren't the people to do the work. Number two, if you did have the people to do the work, there would be a cone on every street and the entire state would be up in arms. So what do we do with $6.7 billion coming in?
I have absolutely no idea what we're going to do with it.
Well, that ends the interview. Thank you for coming. No, go ahead.
I suspect we'll inefficiently spend a reasonable portion of the thing if we spend it all by any stretch of the imagination. it's one of those things where the manufacturing sector in this state is reasonably healthy.
You wouldn't say booming?
No, I'm not going to say booming because very, very few people recognize that about 80 to 85% of the manufactured goods actually go from one manufacturer to the next manufacturer. So we make parts that go into whatever the end product is. So when you do that, if there's any disruption in the supply chain, the chip thing in the auto industry, that slows down everybody that has anything that goes into the manufacturing of cars. So we have those supply chain interruptions in various places and segments and things like that. The chip thing is not just impacting the auto industry, it's impacting everybody that makes anything that goes into a vehicle. And those things are not resolved yet. We still have shortages that are coming out. The lumber issue, the timber issue, and things like that that's coming out of decisions, bad decisions that were made 40 years ago. Those things are impacting the construction sector. So we have all kinds of disruptors that are causing some level of disruption in the manufacturing sector in this state.
All right, so go back to my original premise of this amount of money. You say a good percentage is going to probably be spent inefficiently. What creative ideas, and I'm going to be asking a lot of people this over the next few months, should we be looking at beyond, we had the head of NDOT here on the program, and she was talking about that we're so far behind with all our roads and bridges, et cetera, that we're still going to be playing catch up no matter how much money comes in. I didn't think that was a very exciting idea when you have this much new money coming in. And no offense to her, I mean, yeah. I understand, but at the same time, this is a gift, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, do something exciting with it. What could we do that will be exciting?
Well, let's kind of go off in a little bit of a tangent and things like that. Take a look at what the serious needs of the state are. Okay, number one, pure and simple, water.
100%.
Okay, if we can't fix the water issues and things like that, we can't continue the growth rate that's been going on in this state forever. Lake Mead is dry. There's solutions for that nobody wants to talk about.
Well, for example.
Well,
because Pat Mulroy is going to be here in a couple of weeks.
Okay, I made the comment years ago, and I'll stick by it at this stage of the game. We would probably take the waste from Yucca Mountain if somebody would build a big pipeline from the Pacific Ocean and pump water up here. Even if they didn't desalt it there, we'll desalt it up here. We got the power to do that.
And you said in a conversation with me the other day that there is actually benefit to desalination in Nevada because we can utilize the waste product.
Well, either that or else put it someplace where it doesn't matter. I mean, nuclear waste versus salt brine waste and things like that. I'm not sure there's a huge chunk of difference as far as the issue that you got to deal with on the thing. But all of a sudden, if we had a big pipeline of water so that water was not the constraining factor for growth in this state, that's a huge issue, astronomical. Secondary issue, once you accomplish that, now all of a sudden you've got the freedom to do some other things. And it really doesn't matter whether the pipeline goes into the north or the south and things like that. We can move it around once we get it here. Workforce training and people issues and things like that. We still have an education system that is not doing what we need. It is not training the skills that we need. From a manufacturing standpoint, we need a higher skilled level person than what the casinos need. And they're always going to get first dibs on what takes place in our education system.
But are the community colleges not stepping up to the plate? And to an extent, UNR, in dealing with a lot of the tech companies that are coming in here, and the tech companies are going to them saying, hey, this is what we need, train these people. And I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that one thing President Sandoval, which is kind of scary to say that because
I know
Pete Ernott wanted him to be president of the United States, but at least he got to be president of something. But as his skill is not in education per se, but in organization CEO position type thing, that he would be somebody who would totally recognize the need of corporations and the ability to go back to his faculty and say, this is what we need to move forward?
The workforce that we need is the community college workforce, and the community colleges in this state have been short-shifted for the last 50 years.
All right, so money into them.
Money into those places, and you know, we've made 3 efforts now to try and get the community colleges out from under the Board of Regents, which is totally focused on the 2 universities and, quite frankly, doesn't really give a damn, or at least demonstrates that they don't give a damn about the community colleges. And that's the workforce that we need, and that's the training level we need. We had career and technical programs going on in both the northern districts and the southern in southern Nevada that were pretty effective. The pandemic has screwed those programs up. I don't know, I'm not sure that anybody knows what it's going to take to recover and get those programs up to where they need to be. Okay,
so they still exist but not functioning at a
You know, those are hands-on programs. How do you do a hands-on programs when you don't have classrooms? Yeah. when you're not allowed in classrooms and you're not allowed to use the equipment and everything else. So we went through a huge hit on that situation. And it's not strictly the manufacturing sector that needs technical workers. Mr. Enos at the Trucking Association, they need truck drivers on a national basis at levels we can't even fathom.
All right, so that's...
And those are becoming more and more technical too.
Right, 100%, and become more so as we move toward autonomy, even though that seems to be pushing further and further, pardon the pun, down the road, just because of the issues connected to autonomous vehicles.
Yep.
And concerns about that. But doesn't that bring us into the realm of immigration, that we need, you know, the byword for the last 40 years has been comprehensive immigration reform, because there were so many competing factors, whether it were unions at the time or whether it was businesses at the time, farmers at the time. But now it seems to me that in our polarized society, you can't do comprehensive. We've proven you can't do comprehensive. Let's pick out different areas and say, okay, we can fix this. And one of those fixes would be setting up a program to train people in other countries, whether it be Central America, Mexico, or Europe, or wherever, for people to be able to come in and be, for example, truck drivers, or people coming in to pick fruit, or whatever it might be. Is that not the way to separate it from you know, just we've got to get it all done at once, to doing individual things that make sense?
The people right now that are crossing the borders, a large portion of them are functionally illiterate. Those,
I'm not, you know,
those are not the people that we need.
Yeah, look, frankly, I'm not even talking about that. That's a whole different issue. That is
well, but they're connected.
Well, but okay, let me disconnect them. I mean, that's my point here, is that we get into this big confusing conversation about people coming into the country illegally for whatever reason. Yep. They're crossing the border. In this case now we have tons of children coming across. That's one issue. Put that aside. I'm talking about fixing the immigration system in this country to allow manufacturers to come in, technical people to come in from places like India, where we open up the visa programs to allow the people that we need to work in our companies, so we're not dependent on China, we're not dependent on foreign work. To train people, I mean, put in training centers. You know, you want to stop you know, the poverty in Mexico, and the reason why people are coming across the border, at least one of them, is put in training centers for truck drivers to get them to a skill level where they can come to the United States and work. But we don't have that ability.
No. We have made the immigration system a great big pile, if you will, and in that pile right now, probably 60% of what's coming in is going to come in at the bottom levels, and they're going to come in with skills, and they're going to wind up in the welfare systems and everything else and stuff like that. And maybe not the welfare system.
No, you know what though? Let's balance that out a bit.
But we have done a terrible job of getting that group that we truly need as far as immigrants going.
No, and you know, the last time that we saw any type of push to have it done on a comprehensive level, it was George W. Bush, yep, Harry Reid, and there were a couple other people that were involved. But But my point is that it's been a long time. If you're going back to the
Decades.
George W. Bush administration, yeah, it's 86 and something was really done. And I think the problem is comprehensive, and I think unions have changed their position because, you know, it's no longer we're worried about union jobs. Now it's more about, well, if they come, we can make them Democrats. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that the equation has changed a bit. Anyway, let's take a break. We'll come back much more, and we'll get away from immigration after this time out.
Get in on the Tamarack Casino's $175,000 Hidden Treasures Guaranteed giveaway now through September 30th. Earn entries in the weekly drawings and win big during the 2 $35,000 grand prize giveaways. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
Hey, Dad? What are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal gas station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company, with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
I'm Jeff Gehrman, an investigative reporter with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm your guide for Season 2 of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas.
You're in with every gangster and hoodlum in the United States.
I don't go for that, Mr. Kennedy. I don't go for that kind of action.
I was on television accused of fronting for the mob.
Subscribe to Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas, Season 2, today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Get in on the Tamarack Casino's $175,000 Hidden Treasures Guaranteed giveaway now through September 30th. Earn entries in the weekly drawings and win big during the 2 $35,000 grand prize giveaways. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're talking with Ray Bacon, one of my favorite people, because we always have great conversations. He's executive director of the Nevada Manufacturers Association. A lot of attention being put towards the Clark County lands bill that's going through, and a big battle between development and environmentalists. But you say that the issue is way bigger than just Clark County.
Well, let me put it in perspective. This state is 85% owned by the federal government. The process to get something transferred from federal ownership into private sector ownership or even into state government ownership and things like that is a nightmare. And when we can't get the tax base because that stuff is still tied up in federal lands, and in the games that go on with the PILT money are just an absolute nightmare. So somehow,
and that's payments in lieu of taxes,
yes,
for those that may not know that.
We won't even, you know, you've just had a program recently on the whole lithium thing in Esmeralda County. Esmeralda County gets 1/3 of what the next lowest county gets in that thing, with a huge chunk of federal land ownership and not enough people to stand with, and resources there that are phenomenal. There is not a process that gets land transferred in any of the western states through a reasonably timely, productive fashion. And yeah, I know we don't want to turn over massive chunks because we like the whole issue of public lands, but there's things that get tied up forever for nonsense reasons. And if we're going to get the lands that we need to do the development that we need to in this state for the growth rate that we've had since 1960, we need to get that process somehow streamlined to the point where things happen in years and not decades.
Okay, so the congressional delegation seems to be pretty united in trying to make this happen, and yet, you know, it's still going at an incredibly slow pace. Even when Senator Reid was in office,
he couldn't get it done either.
No, well, he could get it done, but it took forever.
Yeah.
You know, Great Basin National Park is, you know, part of what he was able to accomplish. But yeah, I mean, so what is the solution to that?
I don't know what the solution to that is.
All right, but you've identified the problem.
Yeah, and it's not strictly a Nevada problem. It's all the western states. You remember when, when they discovered the value of minerals in the western states is when they closed the door on transferring land. Okay, the value of the minerals has not changed, but the ability to get the minerals out of the ground has never improved because of the screwed up policies at the federal level. So somehow, if we want to get the lithium out and find the lithium and every other mineral that's out there, we need to get a policy that lets that land get transferred into private hands in a reasonable time frame. And it should be national policy to make it better.
Okay, so is that an Interior Department thing?
No, it's bigger than the Interior Department.
Wow.
It's much bigger than the Interior Department.
All right, let's take another break. We'll come right back.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and YouTube. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Serving Our Kids Foundation's mission is to serve homeless, at-risk, and food-insecure children in grades K through 8 throughout Southern Nevada. During the pandemic, Serving Our Kids has seen a 42% increase in the number of children served, providing more than 4,500 meals to kids in over 100 schools weekly. Serving Our Kids is powered by community support and volunteers. To learn how you can help, visit servingourkids.org.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and Twitter. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Ray Bacon. He's the Executive Director of the Nevada Manufacturers Association. Okay, lithium, you brought it up down south in Esmeralda County. We're now looking at Thacker Pass. We're looking at Rhyolite Ridge. Brad Crow was on the program, said that he can see a way to solving most of the problems that are occurring with Thacker Ridge. And in talking to Bernard Rowe from Ioneer, they feel that they're making progress towards solving their problems. You know, how do we balance the environmental issues that are brought up by the environmental groups with the need for, which is a stunning thing to even say, to balance it with the clean energy needs that we proclaim that we need, and yet we put up these obstacles when we have something that can solve them?
I'm going to throw you a left curve here on this thing. If you go back to the spotted owl fiasco, which is the thing that destroyed the timber industry in this country, we now can't get lumber across the border from Canada. The spotted owl thing was crap on its best day. It didn't exist. The problem didn't exist. The fire situation in California, the carbon releases, they're talking about control burns and things like that. The last time I knew, fire produces CO2 that goes into the atmosphere. If the environmentalists want to fix the problem, they got to get serious about it. Okay, what they're doing is, you know, playing who's got the bean underneath the thing. The whole issue of the carbon dioxide thing, which is real, okay, but most of the rest of the environmental stuff is marginal on stuff. It means you got to get serious about doing things, and destroying an industry that was actually doing a pretty damn good job of forest management is really, really stupid, and they still won't fess up to the fact that they were wrong.
All right, but when you look at the environmental movement and you do a little digging, pardon the pun, again, you find that environmental groups raise a lot of money.
Yes.
And they have a lot of lawyers who do a lot of suing, and it's easier for the government to settle than keep these ongoing battles going.
Bingo. Yeah. And it's, most of it is probably nonsense. You know, it's one of those situations.
Or finding an excuse. For example,
yeah.
my good friend Jerry Teams buckwheat is, you know, what the holdup is at Rhyolite Ridge. And, you know, the Center for Biological Diversity was lucky to find that because it gave them an excuse to go after the mine.
I've been down there. I've looked at that flower. It doesn't even qualify as a good weed.
Well, Jerry would argue about that, but I'm not so sure. Last quick question, and we've only got a minute here. You drive a Tesla,
yeah.
right? Happy with it?
Yes.
Issues with it?
No.
Do you think that the stock price for Tesla is right on?
It's one of those things. I bought some Tesla stock like 4 years ago. I've done fine with it. It's one of those things. I can't gauge the value of the stock market because I don't think anybody can at this stage of the game. It's been screwy on everything. But from a quality standpoint, from a performance standpoint, very happy. By the way, it's my wife's car. It's not mine.
And thank you for pointing that out, because now you can go home again. Ray Bacon, always a pleasure. Come back soon.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll be right back. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey, Dad? Why are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. You can do that now these days. We'll see you on the next broadcast.